see, when you have when you're in a relationship and you break up, and say it's been a long-term relationship or whatever, you just break up with someone, but you've been so invested in that person that you almost became each other, like one, you know what I mean? So when the relationship ends and when it dies, just to close the window, right? You kind of get on that phase where you're rebuilding yourself and trying to get to know who you are again, like trying to figure out what your own identity is besides being that partner of that person. And that could be very challenging for some people. And I do say, like, just because you're a mother, you still have to remember that you are someone else's child. Not only that, you're a woman and you're an individual as well. And it's very important that you acknowledge each aspect of yourself, because if you get so involved with just being a mother and that's just your title and that's everything you go by, you will lose yourself, because your kids will eventually leave home and grow into adults, and then what do you have left for yourself? It would drive people crazy. That's when they feel like they need to start adopting and stuff, because now they've subjected their life to only being a parent. But you have to nurture being a woman as well as being a mother, because ultimately you nurturing that in your individual self, and you acknowledging your own self and your own needs, and not just because you're a mother, just for yourself. Sometimes you have an element of selfishness. It's for yourself, because you're still a human being. You have to still do things that make you happy and you smile, you know. That will ultimately make you a better parent in so many ways, because you'd be happy. Like, yeah, you can be happy with your kids, but you can only be so happy like that. Like, I don't really agree to the whole, like, just because you're a mother, you have to lose yourself and you have to stop doing this and this. No, I mean, your kids can still be a world, but it doesn't mean you have to forget about yourself as a person. No way. There's still things that you need to make you happy. There's still things you need to do to make you smile. And that just is not because you shouldn't feel bad about that just because you're a mother. I mean, being a mother and being a woman is... You're still an individual. You still have to think about it like this. When you see mothers and just to drop their children to school, they look to the nines. I mean, makeup, hair extensions, everything. And you know these women aren't working. Trust me, they're not. Me, Jesus, I'm always in a rush, you know, to drop kids to school. I mean, I can hardly find my feet. It's just as soon as I see something on, and then that's it. And once the kids are done, it's just like, thank God. But then before you know it, it's like your day just fast forwards and they finish school already, so you don't even feel like you have enough time for yourself and all of that. But just the simple fact that they get themselves up just a bit early to doll themselves up, to take their kids to school, that is just something that they do to make them feel good, to make them smile. Them feeling and looking good makes them feel good. And so it should, because you should always acknowledge yourself regardless. It's very easy to be invested in things and to lose yourself, and not only in motherhood, in life, in work, in people. You can be so comfortable in something that you don't end up progressing. And not to say that you can't, if we're going back to motherhood, of course, like, the progression is the growth. But what use is life to be, how can you be living life when the only growth is your children growing and you're not even growing as a person? So when they leave, you're still trying to straddle and find that person that you was before they were born, and that's totally wrong, because you should be growing with your kids. You should be growing as a person too. Do you mean life doesn't just stop because you happen to be a mother, or because you happen to suddenly get into a job, or because you happen to be in a relationship, or because you happen to... People just need to stop getting too comfortable with the way things are. And like, it's always important to do things to challenge yourself, and always important to acknowledge what your strengths are, and always important to do things that better you as a person. It's like if you're in a job and you want another one and you hate it, the money's not enough, and why do you stay in it? You stay in it because you can't be bothered to look for something else, and it's just you're sticking to what you know. And that sticking to what you know is dampening your chances of progressing, or really doing, or even growing as a person, because you're just going to be stuck there in this job, and probably in the same position most likely for 6 years, for 10 years. There was a woman, I went in Hackney when I used to visit Dammy, right? And she worked in Tesco, and she was there since 1999, and she was a cashier from 1999 to 2000. When was our last? I wouldn't say it was last year. I can't remember. Yeah, it would have had to have been last year when we was doing our videos. Until 2016, and she had a badge. Like, so proud of it. And that's nothing to be proud of, being in the same position for all those years. My brother was born, that was 18 years, you know. Fucking hell. In the same one position in Tesco, mind you. I'm not going to lie. I mean, it's a job is a job, but that is a dead-end job, considering that you're going to be there for all that time and just not even progress. And that's what I mean. We get so comfortable with things that we don't end up moving or achieving. And then if that job finished tomorrow, if Tesco suddenly went bankrupt, she would be lost, because her whole life and everything has been put into that job. It's important that you nurture your individual self regardless of what you're in, because that maintains some good sanity, you know. It's just an element of you being able to naturally progress as a human being, and with self, and keep intact with yourself. Still maintain things that you like, and still do things that you love to do. Still achieve your dreams, try and conquer goals, because all that gets put aside sometimes just because you're on a certain pathway, and that's just that, and then you just get comfortable, and then before you know it, it's a shoulda, woulda, coulda, I wish I did this, I wish I did that, and then you're trying to do and start up stuff that you should have done ages ago, and you know, now you're frustrated because you're not getting somewhere, because now you're rushing it, because that's your own fault. You never ever allow yourself to get that comfortable where everything else gets put on hold just because you happen to be in a certain position. No, you don't do that in life. You have to learn to multitask, and you have to learn to do things. You have to learn to really go for what you want. Otherwise, at the end of the day, the only person that's going to be suffering is you. That's why you see a lot of these people are always trying to do the most to maintain their youth, and going out with people old enough to be their children or grandkids, because they're trying to relive youth that they lost. But they only lost that youth because they didn't pay attention to the growth of when they were in what they were in, that made them not do or achieve or do the things that they were meant to do. I promised myself I would never do that, because I was one of those people. I got so stuck in being comfortable and being other people's shadow, of hiding within my insecurities. I didn't live. It's only a couple of years ago that I started to even come out of my shell. But better sooner than later, to be honest, because when you do stuff later, it really does look silly. But never allow yourself to get that comfortable. Always nurture every aspect of yourself and stuff that you want to do and things that you want to achieve, because this is your life too, and you need to be able to be fulfilled. And just being a mother is no different than just being someone's lover, or just being this position at a job. Like, you need to have all aspects of that. You need to have a good job, or you need to be doing something that you love. You need to have a loving partner, amazing. And then you have a family. Like, all of it's very achievable. You don't just get stuck in one thing and then that's it, or I'm set for life. You would never ever be satisfied. Never, as a human being. Never. And don't be scared to branch out, because another thing, like I always say, people are so scared of change, and people are so scared, if I fail, if I try and this doesn't work, and this doesn't happen, and this doesn't happen. Like, you're not meant to go into life thinking that. Just do, and if it doesn't work, then just say, you know what, I tried. Maybe maybe a different way around what you really want to do is a way that is meant to work for you. Maybe that way didn't. There's 1,000 ways to do things, you know. Not everything is just by the book or just the way you think it is. No. Nothing should ever stop you from really being fulfilled within yourself, regardless of what you're in. You're entitled to have an element of selfishness for yourself. Absolutely. So, yeah, I hope that helped. I need to sort out this, so hopefully the next time you see me on camera, it will be much better, okay? I'm where the ghost